One of Louisville's star defensive leaders on the line, TJ Quinn, welcome to Athlete Unscripted. You've been turning heads a lot already this season, and it's still pretty early. You were recently named ACC Linebacker of the Week after putting up 11 tackles and a sack against James Madison. What clicked in that game to say, hey, I can make plays all over the field and I'm going to do that tonight?
I feel like that's always just been my mentality that, that I'm a playmaker and I can make, plays in many different ways. And I just feel like, that was just a good game that, I was able to showcase that.
Did you feel early on that day, in warm-ups, feeling it today? I'm going to make some breakout plays here, or did it just kind of happen in the game, in the moment?
I mean, I just feel like, that just, comes from like the preparation and stuff. I feel like, every game that, I'm trying to, go out there and put out my best performance, and, it just went that way that game.
How do you build off a performance like that so it's not just a one-off game, so you keep that momentum going throughout the entirety of the season?
I feel like you just can't let it get to your head. I feel like after I had that game, we obviously had the bye week after that, so, you could, enjoy it a little bit, but you just can't let it get to you. And, you got to move forward because, that was only game 2. So, like I said, you got a long season ahead and, you still got, I still got a lot more out there to prove.
Still a long season ahead, but to date, you've tallied 31 tackles on the year, 1 sack and 2 interceptions. You've shown that you can do more than just tackle. Those picks change momentum. They change the game. How do you get into positions like that to make those big plays?
Just knowing what the other team likes to do, film study, and we going into that, we just had where they like to throw a lot of balls to and where they like to hit it over the field. Now I just was those plays. I was just reading the quarterback's eyes, and I just made a play on the ball. When those plays come to you, you got to make them, and I had knew I had to make up for some plays I had made at the beginning of the game. So,
how's it feel knowing that you can be a game changer and a big playmaker on the field?
I just feel like that's just something that, I've always felt like I had with me, and, just go out there and make plays. I feel like that's just like my main thing I think about, and I know if I make plays, I'm putting my team in the best position to be able to win.
Is there a specific game so far that you feel like you have grown and showed your growth in?
The Pitt game, obviously, because like you said, a lot of people might have just think, I just tackle a lot, but I feel like, I am, an all-around linebacker, and I am able to cover, and I feel like I've been able to show that, this year.
Let's talk about some moments where you had to really dial it up. Against Pitt, like you just mentioned, you had 2 interceptions, 1 in the final minute to ice the game. How did it feel to know that you changed the trajectory of the game?
It feels good, because, when you make plays like that, that just, allows your coaches and your teammates, to have trust in you more. And I feel like you just got to keep building on that and, just continue to make plays. Because I feel like when you do that and you show, people what you can do, they'll, put more trust into you.
Walk me through that mindset in the final stretch of that game specifically, where you, feeling the pressure, still have to stay locked in and find a way ultimately. I
don't really never let the pressure get to me and stuff. I just, I stay just level-headed, and I don't really ever get too high or too low. After the play happens, I move on because that's what you have to do, because if you let it get to you, you could, mess up the next play. So I feel like you just gotta, take it one play at a time and, make the next play.
Pittsburgh. It was your first ACC game of the year. It was at Pitt. How much did that win boost your confidence in this team and what the Louisville Cardinals can do this year?
I just feel like that game just showed, how we could just stick together as a team, and no matter, what the score is or what could be happening during that game, how we just, can stick together and, make a way out of, nothing.
You've been a very consistent leader for this team. Last year, you led the team in tackles, and now this season, you're continuing to be a great defensive leader on the field and off as well. How has your role and your voice matured in leading this team?
I think I just had to, realize that, I am somebody that, people look towards for that leadership, and, I had to grow with that because, I ain't always think that, that I had to, do it by words. I've always just been somebody that just tried to, lead by example, but, sometimes things have to be said, and I feel like, I've done that this year, and I've grown in that way.
What is one trait you think separates good players from great ones? And how do you excel your game and excel who you are to be a great player?
Just never being satisfied for real. Like, I just feel like no matter what happens, I've always just wanted to move forward and push forward. And I feel like, that can, separate those and, because you just can't never get satisfied. I feel like once you get satisfied and you lit up, like, things might not go how I plan them to.
When you step on the field, what's your why?
I say my why is my family. And, this season, I just, been playing a lot for like my brother, because like my brother had passed, this year. And, every game, I just, go into them games just thinking about him. And, I just, just want him to keep, looking over me. And, I've been playing for him and my family, and, God.
Well, you've already had an incredible season, and I know you're going to continue leveling up and each week making big plays. So good luck this season, and thank you for your time.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Athlete Unscripted. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an exclusive episode and you stay in the know on all things athletics. I'll see you next time.